Well, hello there and welcome to Mind Your Business. I'm Jennifer Anderson, Executive Director of the Georgina Chamber of Commerce and also host of the show. Well, Mind Your Business was a show that we created back in March, and it was a way to really talk to local businesses and organizations about business and for business. It was a way to let them know about the services, the financial relief, the information that they needed to know during the pandemic and beyond. We are thrilled to be doing our 19th show, our 19th episode right now. And I'm also thrilled to really be discussing media on this show with the giants that make up Georgina's local media. We are very lucky in this community. And I'm not just saying that because of my background in media and because I'm doing a show on one of those local media sources, but also because I know the relevance and the importance of local media and being able to tune in, to be able to dial in and really listen and look at content and understand that it's local business, it's your neighbors, it's discussing what's available to you in our municipality. So I'm thrilled to introduce our gentlemen who are our guests on the show today. First, we have Dan McPherson. He's the Community Development and Franchise Relations within SNAP Georgina. Hi, Dan. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Jennifer. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for being here. You say us because you are joined by Sean Riddell. He's the Community Engagement Strategist at SNAP. Hi, Sean.
Hey, thanks for having us. Thank you to Rogers TV Georgina and the Chamber.
Thank you for being here. We have a new face to Georgina. Ed Torres is the president of K Country 93.7 FM. Hi, Ed.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here.
And we're thrilled to have you here on the show with us today. And finally, we have Jim Anderson, who is the station manager of Rogers TV Georgina. Hi, Jim.
Thank you, Jennifer. Love your show.
You have to. I am thrilled to have all of you gentlemen here today because, as I said, you know, when we're talking about business and we're doing a show for and about business, it's really important to connect media to the local business and connect media to the residents in this community. So really want to talk to media about what's been happening over the last, I think it's 22 weeks. We began the pandemic mid-March, and of course, you know, a couple of weeks turned into quite a few months. And so there really has been a lot of adapting and pivoting over the last several months. And as I said, we are taping the show on August the 10th. Want to let everybody know in case you're watching on YouTube or you're watching on the Chamber website, just to understand that we're talking about what's currently happening. So going to bring the guys back from SNAP. Sean, let's start with you. Obviously, you know, this is a pandemic that has affected all business, and I would assume that SNAP is no different.
Yeah, it's been an interesting ride. We've definitely had to pivot and change our ways throughout this whole thing. You know, businesses shutting down, that's our bread and butter, having our paper out in those businesses on the way out in the racks. So we definitely had to pivot. We did a lot of work with our social media networks. So we've always utilized that, you know, posting event photos, connecting with businesses and stuff through there, but we really just had to ramp it up. We came up with an idea to do a thriving event. So in all of the different areas that we're in, and specifically Georgina, we did a Thriving in Georgina event where basically we wanted members of the community and the business owners and everyone out there to let us know what they're up to. So send us photos. If you're at home making a blanket fort with your kids, show us, you know, we want to see what you guys are up to. If you're doing a cookout in the backyard, I guess in March you wouldn't have been doing that, but recently, you know, we want to see that. We want to see what you guys are doing, keeping busy and connecting throughout this whole thing, because it really shows the community, the personal side of you as a business owner.
Well, and I think that's important, especially when you have a publication that relies very heavily on events. So, you know, it's one thing not to have the businesses where you're putting the paper, but when you don't have the content the same way that you used to, it's certainly important to pivot what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we took advantage of the our app, the Snap Hub app, basically just telling everyone, send us your photos of what you guys are up to, because there are no events going on, and we want to make sure our publication continues with, you know, smiling faces and what's going out, what's going on. So even though there's no events, there's still stuff going on. So
And some of, if I can add into that, some of the thing you hit the nail on the head there. A lot of people that own businesses don't realize that, it's nice to see their faces. It's nice to see they're still remaining positive through this and that they might still be open or they're pivoting. But there's a real business logic to sharing those photos. They say these days, coffee shop A and coffee shop B. These days, the competitive landscape is such that they're pretty much producing the same quality. And so what gets one business ahead of the other is likability. And what makes us like people and want to spend our money with those people, those local businesses, is knowing they're like us, knowing there's a little vulnerability there, knowing they're going through what we're going through, and seeing a little bit of them as moms and dads and pseudo school teachers. We all had to jump in and be part-time school teachers. So seeing that actually does help your business. So even though, the link might not have had all the events happening that they would, to see photos of what these people are doing at home actually is helping your business. So we've tried, as Sean said, to pivot and allow way more photo ops of just normal life, which is essentially why we got started in the first place.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think for businesses to understand the value of, it's not even creating an event, but creating opportunities to put their face out there, whether it's just, Takeout Wednesdays become a big thing. So to be able to take a few pictures on that Wednesday to be able to promote your business, or really kind of looking outside the box to be able to create those opportunities. And that's certainly what you guys have helped with all along. I want to ask about the app. I know you mentioned it. It's something that I have downloaded on my phone. People have always been able to upload their pictures, but now more than ever, as you said, this has become really a vital opportunity for local businesses.
Yeah, Dan, go ahead. You look like you were ready there.
I was just going to say the same. You could go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's so easy. The app, it's just an interface with all the events of what's going on. You take a photo through the app, or you can take it on your camera and you can access your photos through the app. It's like a couple easy steps. You click upload photo, add your description, boom, send it to us. And then from there, we're able, that comes into our back end, and we're able to basically create a whole publication just based off of user generated content, which, like we said, with business owners and stuff, creating that likability, and through a time where business was not great, you were able to up your level of likability with the people in the community. That really makes a big difference.
And thinking outside the box, most Snap, when the app was created, essentially was to glue your photos to events that were already in the system. But now that there were no events in the system, as Sean alluded to, we created a universal event. One was called We're Thriving in the Community. Now we have one that just is generically called Add Your Photos to Snap. So we're trying to educate people that it's okay if you're having a Zoom call like this, if you're having a new strategy session, if it's just a selfie as an image to represent something you're doing in your business that's new. We want all of that stuff. Like, Snap's never claimed to be the Wall Street Journal. We're really about sharing the fun, happy photos of our neighbors, our friends, our family, our colleagues. So people flip through that. They share things on social media. They look at our pictures on our website for that very purpose, just to see who they know and what they're involved in, whether it's charitable or something new with their business. So we're encouraging people that when they just have one-off photos, they can just glue it to a universal event they'll find in that app called Add Your Photos to Snap.
Right.
We got really creative on that, the title.
Dan, what happens next for Snap as we move towards some sense of normalcy? And as you do this, I have my camera here, so I'm going to take a picture just so we have this moment that I upload. Yeah, that's right. But what happens next?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, we've, like Sean said, we pivoted very quickly. Essentially, we're about bragging about what you guys are doing, the chamber, the various media outlets, the small businesses. So, there is no shortage of content. There is a shortage of knowledge that all those businesses out there have content. We're not a news outlet. So some people will be like, well, I don't have events. I don't have a golf tournament happening. So it's a bit of an educational thing for us to teach them what they do in a day-to-day life is worth sharing. The benefit where groups like us, Rogers, local radio stations, Snapped, whomever, we are a third party. So the thing that some people miss is it's an addition to, not a replacement for social media. Social media, you're really sharing content with people you've already glad-handed at cocktail parties, and quite frankly, the algorithm in social media prohibits you from connecting with all of your audience, even though you did the hard work of assembling that audience. So if they don't continually like your posts, they're not seeing the stuff you're sharing. So having partners in local media share the stuff that you're doing, these photo ops or remotes or what have you, hugely important, because you're accessing a whole new audience that maybe don't know you already. So that's the major thing we've been pushing. We've done some things like in our app, you'll notice there's a little augmented reality feature. So we're trying to encourage people to share videos with us. They can hover over a publication or business cards or signage or what have you, and trigger actual video content. We still have a ticketing functionality, so we've enhanced that to do. You'd be surprised, events are actually starting to come back online. Right. And then we've geared up some business support webinars as well. So we work closely with the chamber, and we work closely with a lot of people around York region. But we've started to realize that through this, the time that some people had through COVID, they're realizing they were good at making chicken wings, but they weren't really good at teaching people that they were good at making chicken wings. So we've started some really smart business webinars with some local experts that teach you about the aspects of social media, an intro level, and then a deeper dive on, say, spending a little money with Facebook or with Google or what have you. So the intimidating things some people didn't understand, as well as the using video, using augmented reality, learning how to better your website so it actually speaks to people. So we're trying to encourage people to jump in on a digital level and understand some of the things that they could maybe teach their staff during this hiatus to be a little more intelligent about.
Right. Very good. Thank you so much. Love the analogy of chicken wings. Thank you everyone for being a part of the show. I want to bring Ed into the conversation now. Ed, I know a lot of people, there's been a lot of buzz about this radio station coming to Georgina. So we're thrilled to have you here to give us a little bit of insight as to, and maybe we can start at the beginning. What was the thought? What was the reason behind bringing the station to Georgina?
Well, thanks, Jennifer. It's been a long wait, and it hasn't been longer for anyone than for me. The process by which these things happen is that the CRTC, they do a study into market capacity, and that happened in 2017. And what their study showed was that Keswick and Georgina, Sutton, Pefferlaw, there was a robust enough area to support its own radio station. Then they put out a call for applications. And it's a competitive call. So there were 3 other groups that applied for the radio station license. Fortunately, our application was considered to be the best by the CRTC. We have a sister station, 105.5 Hits FM in Uxbridge. And I think that helps us because, we have a powerful combination now between 93.7 in Georgina and 105.5 in Uxbridge. So that's something that the CRTC looks upon favorably. But it takes a while for them to come up with that decision. And in 2018, they said, go ahead and build your radio station. And then there's a number of regulatory hurdles that you have to clear. We finally were in the process of building really when COVID hit. So we had our letter of authority to build from ISED, that's former Industry Canada. Then all building stopped. So, and it's quite a complex process because, there are a few companies that can rig an antenna. Our antenna is going to be located on Glen Woods. So we had coordinated the engineers and the rigging of the antenna. And then when COVID happened, all work stopped. So we just received the building permit recently. So we're scrambling now. We had a bunch of interviews done, a bunch of people lined up. Circumstances have changed for a number of those people. So we're still looking at hiring and we're in that hiring process. which is kind of a exciting process to be a part of. We hope that we'll be launching, for the Labor Day weekend, maybe testing the last week of August. Our studios, the studio rental is complete at 449 the Queensway. And Queensway South. And we are just excited now. The studio gear is in boxes. It's going to be unboxed and kind of put together the week of August 17th. So stand by.
I was going to say, having CRTC and just general regulations, you thought that was going to be the only delay. And little did you know there was going to be a pandemic that would delay the opening for this station.
Well, I think my dad said, life is not easy and nothing's going to be handed to you. Certainly, it's been a challenge, but we have a really good support in the business community already. Ford sold a bunch of contracts, and we think that once we hit the air, those contracts will all be in pretty good shape. We also have support of some national advertisers as well. So although the business plan has certainly changed, the advertising and radio business has been affected across Canada, anywhere from 40 to 50% for some broadcasters. So it's been tough, but again, we've done our research into the market, and the Georgina market is going to be robust. It's going to be a good one for you.
Very good. You also did some research, I know, early on with the genre that people would be interested in. I am thrilled that the genre that I submitted, country, is coming to the station. That is excellent. And so I know a lot of people are very excited about that genre in this community.
Yeah, so Jennifer, you're not alone. There was overwhelming support for country, and we proposed a hot new country. So it's going to be very current. And if you haven't listened to country, it's very much the new pop. It's the fastest growing format in radio in Canada, and that certainly has never been the case. So, and today's new stars like Keith Urban, Carrie Underwood, Luke Bryan, Dierks Bentley, and they're joined by some great Canadian talent like Dallas Smith and Leah Daniels, who again is native to Uxbridge, the Reclaws. They'll all get heavy play on our radio station. So the music is one component, but also the station is going to be very local to Georgina. So that's one thing, that the model that's worked for us in Uxbridge. So, we might talk to you about taking Mind Your Business kind of to radio, or at least a feature. We do a lot of, we get all the politicians on the stations. They can update us. It's a great forum for business leaders. You have a fundraiser going on, something at the hospital. That's what the radio station really is there for, is to communicate those events and the local stuff.
Right, and I know the reason behind that, but I want you to explain, why is it so important for you to not only have, that popular music, but that local content?
Well, that's really the essence of the model, and it's why these micro radio stations work. Technology's made it now so that we can house an entire library of music in a laptop computer. So you think back to even 20 years ago or 25 years ago, you would need rooms and rooms of LPs to run a radio station. It was an expensive undertaking. Now it's pivoted. We can be a lot more local. And also we're competing with Spotify, and we're competing with, Apple Music. We're competing with YouTube. So it's one thing to play the songs that people want to hear, and overwhelmingly in Georgina, it's new country, but you have to also be local. So we can provide on a daily basis an update from council in Georgina, or we can provide information on regional information from York region. We can let you know what the beaches are doing, what beaches are open, what beaches are busy. That's really key. Local news, local weather, local traffic, and before you know it, you're listening to the station 24/7. As I'm told, I was in Tim Hortons recently in Uxbridge. A nice lady, somebody's grandmother, and she saw my jacket, tugged me at the arm and said, I love your station. I listen to it in the morning. I put it on. I come to Tim Hortons. I listen to it in the car. I go back home. I listen to the station. It's on 24/7. Do you know Danny? My grandkids went to school with him. So, and that's Dan Pollard, who is our morning show host there.
Yeah. Yeah. So just hyper local. And I think, Dan and Sean said the same thing. It's the idea of, opening the pages, seeing local, the relevance of knowing your community. The same for radio, the same for television, and Rogers TV Georgina. It all comes back to, making sure that people see familiar faces and know the content that's relevant to them.
Snap does a really great job, and we partner with them in Uxbridge. What they do is, really what we're going to be is Snap for radio, in that, when your kid scores a goal, if we ever get back to, local amateur sports, his name, appears in the sportscast, right? So we're not going to talk about the Leafs so much, but we're going to talk about local hockey.
Too soon, Ed. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. As I said, it's the idea of being local is so important. And of course, having a local TV station is very important to the residents of Georgina. Jim Anderson is being brought into the conversation now. Jim, tell us a little bit about the history of bringing Rogers TV to Georgina.
Well, it's been a quick 8 years of us having the station here in Keswick. The area was served for many years by our studio in Richmond Hill, which I came from. And then there was an opportunity to put a station up here in Georgina, and we chose the Ice Palace as our location. And it's worked out fantastic. Personally, for me, it's 5 minutes from my home, and I already knew the area, was already living here. So I knew the players, I knew the community. So it was a perfect fit for myself. And really, our success has really been the fact that, other than yourself, Jennifer, all of the hosts on our channel really don't have TV experience. They're not journalists. They're just people in the community who, one is a psychic, one is a gardener, one is a cook, and one likes politics. But they all really have added an amazing contribution to our community, because they're all from here too. We pride ourselves in, we're not doing stories about Toronto. We're not doing stories about Markham. We're doing stories all about Georgina. We're featuring Georgina people. And then a show like this, we're featuring all Georgina businesses. So we really have found what services this area. And I think we've had some success.
I think you have too. That's, certainly like the gentleman before you, there's a little bit of pivoting and changing what you do. Obviously, having hosts, having guests into a station doesn't work when you're in a pandemic. So how has Rogers pivoted to allow to continue with production?
Well, our biggest challenge is it's myself and 2 staff producers. There's just the 3 of us. So when we are so heavily reliant on our volunteers, and we have 40 plus volunteers, whether from co-op students to college interns, we have seniors who help us out. There is a whole mix of people, including our hosts, who make a contribution. When the pandemic starts and we are told, lock your doors, other than the staff, it's not so easy to figure out, okay, so how are we going to keep shows on the air? We can't just shut her down. So, thanks to Zoom, and everybody discovered what Zoom was all of a sudden, we really were able to figure out if we could just put 2 of the 3 of us in the studio, one directing, one on audio, hosts on Zoom, guests on Zoom. It's worked. You realize how reliant you are on a good connection and people's laptops. If their cameras aren't good or their connection's not good, it can play with your show. But we really have, my guys have done a great job. We really have kept our numbers up, and that goes for all my stations. I also run a station in Durham region out of Oshawa, and in another one in Orangeville. And it's just been a challenge for all of us, but we found a way to make it work. We really do miss our volunteers. But for the time being, we've made it work, and we look forward to a day where we can have them back in to help us out.
Well, this is certainly an example of one of those shows that, we were going to begin the show in September. We were going to shoot during the summer and be able to launch in the fall to really help local businesses. And once the pandemic hit, we knew that we would be able to do this by Zoom and get that information out to people quickly and I think effectively to be able to let them know this information. So it really is an example. Is that kind of where we're heading? Because I know September has always been a really big launch for Rogers, and this will look very different this year.
Yes, the day after Labor Day is always the launch of our new season. We basically go September to June. We are still, we're following the guidelines from the government, and we're following guidelines from Rogers. So which are changing daily. So we are still kind of waiting to see what we're going to be allowed to do in September. The positive thing is we're already doing productions this way, and we can see, we are one of, I think, 2 stations across all of Rogers properties that actually launched a new show during a pandemic. So it was great to get this show on. And I think it's proved to our audience that this was a show that was really needed, and we couldn't wait till September. So thank God we were able to do this. But yeah, we have a lot of volunteers. I have, co-op teachers saying, "Are you taking students in September?" I don't know. We will. Obviously, our main focus is that the safety of our staff, the safety of our volunteers, so the safety of our guests. So, we're not going to push it. We're going to do what we can do. But if we have to go a few more months like this, then that's the way it's going to be. It's working now. But it sure would be great to get that studio functioning again and get people back in, because we love giving people in our community a chance to come in, talk about your event, talk about your business. People know and have trusted us for a long time, so they like being on the station. So yeah, we're hoping for the best.
Very good. One last question, just a few seconds left of the show. Who's your favorite host?
Who's my favorite host? Well, Kathy Bruce is fantastic.
Wrong answer.
All right, we're out of time.
She was one of my first hosts, and
We're out of time, Jim.
Oh.
All right. Thanks so much for everybody at home. Thanks to all my guests for watching. We'll see you next time on Mind Your Business.
Thank you.